more often than not.
Okay.
So yeah.
So bravo to them. Yeah.
So they've done a good job, and this sort of thing is only going to keep that going, I would think.
There you go. Okay. Bradford Bulls duo Liam Kirk and Ross Oakes have been signed to new 2-year deals with the club. The duo are graduates of the club's successful academy system and have been regulars for the team during the 2017 campaign, with forward Kirk and ever present this year. Meanwhile, Oakes has made 17 appearances, scoring 9 tries so far this term. Also announced on Sunday after the win over Rochdale that Dane Chisholm has signed on for 2 years as well.
Bloody hell.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, for reals.
I don't believe that he'll play those years. Whatever. I've thrown in the centre, Matty Blythe.
Well, he's had the chance to go to someone else if he needed to, and he signed on for 2 years.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I've thrown in the centre, Matty Blythe, and winger Kevin Penny will leave Warrington Wolves at the end of the 2017 season as well.
Going into close protection.
Well, I don't know what Kevin Penny's going into. Cereal commercials, I assume. But yeah.
There you go. And finally, Australian coach Mal Meninga has named 6 debutants as part of the Australian Prime Minister's 13 to take on Papua New Guinea Prime Minister's 13 in Port Moresby on Saturday the 23rd of September.
Yeah, it's an appetised wetter for the international season, hasn't it?
This team is Jimmy Tedesco of West's Tigers, Dane Gagai of Newcastle Knights, Josh Dugan from the St George Illawarra Dragons, Tom Trebojevic of the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles, Val Holmes from the Cronulla Sharks, Jack Bird also of the Cronulla Sharks, as is James Maloney. James Woods is the captain from West Tigers, Appy Coruscant from the Sea Eagles, Andrew Fifita from the Cronulla Sharks, Tyson Frizzell, who's Welsh and also plays for the St George Illawarra Dragons, Josh Papali from Canberra, Jake Trebojevic of the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles, Wade Graham from Cronulla, David Clever from Canterbury, Dylan Walker from Manly, Josh Jackson from Canterbury, and Paul Vaughan from St George Illawarra Dragons.
I'm sure someone will pick you up on Aaron Woods.
What did I say? Aaron?
No, you said James.
Did I say James Woods?
Yes. Ooh, piece of candy.
I don't know why I had that with James Woods. It's because it says James Maloney above it. Oh, there you go.
Rich Wilkinson said, this team would hammer England. Thoughts? God help us when they bring in the world-class players.
Yeah, that's very true, actually.
Well, I'd suggest people like Fifita and Papali and and a couple of others maybe are world class already. And Jake Trebojevic should be in that conversation for me. Do you know what? It looks great on paper, but only because they're all the top NRL players that we see around the rep side. We've got top NRL players who we see around rep sides as well in the England side. Let's not get carried away. Yeah. England can still win this World Cup.
I don't think they get hammered. I think they would lose.
I don't.
Do you not think so?
No, throw a team together.
Yeah.
Get our NRL based players to play this team as much as and we'll have to throw in a few ringers.
Yeah.
We'll have to throw in a few ringers, but it's been happening since the dawn of the sport, hasn't it? Because the first ever tour involved a ringer.
True. Yeah, true. It did. Okay, well there you go then. Right, that's the news taken care of then from around the world of rugby league. Let's take a look back now at round 6 of the Super 8s. Okay, so back to round 6 of the Super 8s then. We start on Thursday night where Hull FC were at 19 points to 18 winners over Wakefield Trinity in front of 10,924, refereed by Phil Bentham.
And Tyler Casfan, we start with, he said, tough on Wakey, but they need to make it count when they're on top and put some points on. Could and should have been further ahead early in the second half. Hull ended up deserving to the win, but no thanks to Kelly, who had a shocker on a par with his ginger rinse.
Yeah, it was quite something, wasn't it? Yeah, Joshua's granddad
did not do us gingers a favour with that performance, I don't believe.
No, not at all. Joshua's granddad says, the dream goes on. Just after 2 hard-fought wins, I'll take the scrappy draw. Halves didn't click and... hang on, they won. What? What's it about scrappy draw? They won.
Yeah.
Halves didn't... Sorry, John, but it was... Yeah, you won. Halves didn't click. Fanoa did what he does, and Captain Fantastic came up with a try. 3 more cup finals, and the double is black and white.
Liam Parker said, now then lads, awesome win for FC against a top Wakefield side who matched and at times dominated what is, in my opinion, the best pack in the league. Even though I get the feeling a few Wakey fans might disagree, I thought Phil Bentham had an outstanding performance and got every single major decision right. Don't get me wrong, I'm one of the first to criticise referees, particularly the shit show that is Robert Hicks, who couldn't control an under-10s game, but Bentham has given some credibility back to the referees with that performance, which isn't the first time I've said that this year.
AK Steel 69 says it was written in the stars that Ellis would have a big impact on his last home game. The same stars that Griggs saw when Fanua nailed him with that hit of the season. Wakey were the better side for much of the game, but an old faithful play from Sneed and Fanua and a great 20-yard running try from our non-running halfback kept Hull in the game. Lip readers saw what Radders thought of that performance. A bag of shit.
Sarah says, Wakefield were victims once again of not turning their possession and position of the first half into points. Hull were patient and eventually scored. Defence was mixed, some great hits, and others where we let the big forwards make far too many yards. The dream is still alive.
And Brian Davies says, Wakey were excellent in the first half and almost flawless. Unfortunately, they couldn't kick on in the second half. Poor options and poor execution cost us when we had the man advantage. Hull were the smarter team, and Wakey continue their record of being unable to beat big teams under pressure. We need to fix that. I think my expression on Sky at the end of the game summed it all up.
Did you catch that right at the end of the game?
I did.
It was awesome. Like the lingering on Bry for about a minute. It felt like it just felt like he went on and he just sort of he got it right. He just summed it right up.
Yeah, good old Bry.
It was probably my favourite part about the game. Liam Parker's favourite part was missing the decisions that went thoroughly against Wakefield in this one. If Robert Hicks had been refereeing or they went the other way, we'd still be hearing about it now, wouldn't we? And it's all we'd be talking about like last week.
Yeah.
Because that tends to be what happens with the bigger crowds, the bigger sports sides. We've seen that in all sports, haven't we, really? You kind of see that. Because I do feel like 50-50s along the way went against Wakefield. But, as I often say, you sort of get the luck you deserve in the end. And Wakefield didn't deserve it because, again,
it's 2 weeks on the trot.
They went into the shell. They botched the few attacking plays that they did make after the first 20 minutes or so of the game.
Yep.
And they went into the shell for large parts as well. And they just, frankly, were their own worst enemies again. And it always sort of felt like Hull would find enough to score enough tries. Because Wakefield have kind of, after that run of having a few big wins and stuff earlier this year, and being the second top point scorer, I think, maybe only 3 weeks ago, they don't seem to want to score points as much anymore.
No,
and that's led to some of the faulty execution. I mean, in particular, the period of the game where Jamie Shaw was in the sin bin, which I actually think was a little bit harsh on Jamie Shaw because I'm not sure there was anyone to play the ball to when he interfered with the man, but it still probably was a professional foul. I don't think he was weighing up the situation that there wasn't anyone to play the ball. He was just weighing up the situation and we're going to tackle him again, so we can't play it. But there was a chance early in the second half, particularly where they'd made the big break, and I think it was Arundel who'd kind of done the most of the work of that break, and then he couldn't find a pass, took a tackle. It went out all the way to the far corner and got botched, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then the other play that springs to mind as well, which was a little bit after that, I think, was Fafita when actually he was pulled, so it probably should have been called held up in goal, and they should have had the ball to play 10 metres out for a last tackle play rather than what they got, which was a 20-metre restart for Hull FC. I think that was one of the marginal calls that went against Wakefield. But how is a big bloke like David Fafita, which Fafita is it?
David
Fafita, getting himself held up like that in that position, and even with the opportunity for them to carry him over the line. So I sort of feel like Wakefield are more the talking point of this game,
definitely,
than Hull. Even though Hull did a spirited comeback and a couple of good tries. I mean, Mark Snade's try. Another example of him being more than just the game manager that some people label him, because we've always said the kid started as a fullback. He's got a bit of a running game as well as a
and he got some shit left in him. He had a turn of pace.
Yeah, definitely. And he had to do it all himself because his half-back partner was completely absent from any ability to catch the ball in this game or pass it properly or anything like that. But yeah.
It was an off night, wasn't it, for Alec Kelly? Look, I'm annoyed at Wakefield because they did this last week and haven't learned from it. So Hull FC, regardless, deserve to win based on the strength of that. I don't think Hull were particularly effervescent at all in this one, really. I think both teams were a bit flat at times. But Wakefield had that opportunity and had that period of time to kick on and put this game beyond doubt, and they should have been controlling it all the way through. And the way you control it is by keeping up doing what brought you to the party. And for the second week on the trot, they've got themselves into a decent lead. They've had the upper hand, and they've started playing within themselves, and they started trying to protect a lead, because I think psychologically they think to themselves, they understand how important it would be for them to get into the semi-finals, and I think they know kind of what they need to do to achieve that. And then when they get themselves in a position to make that achievement possible, they do the worst thing they could possibly do, which is try to defend a lead rather than try to increase a lead. And from there, we have a repeat of last week's performance in some respects.
Yeah, in many senses. I don't think they were as...
They'll fix it up for next weekend, I reckon.
I don't think they were as poor in some aspects as they were in terms of how they let Saints back into the game compared to how they let Hull in the game. I think the problem with Wakefield in this one was as much that they couldn't pull away from the game. They made a lot more errors, I felt like, in this game than they did in the St Helens game. It felt like they were a lot more in control in the St Helens game. In this one, it felt like they were the better side for the first probably 45 minutes, but didn't have that control that they had the week before. So you didn't even think they necessarily won the energy battle, even though they were winning the physical battle at the time. And you've got to mention they kind of did a Hull with the first try, but then Hull did a Hull with Hull's first try. So even itself out there. And the only thing that made me sort of also not feel sorry for Wakefield at all was the sort of fake news that Chris Chester came out with on his interview on Sky about there was some 50-50 decisions definitely that went against them. I think there were hard calls for the referee the match officials to get the Ben Jones Bishop knock on being the toughest one of those, because everyone thought it was a knock on. Probably even Ben Jones Bishop thought it was a knock on until we saw two particular angles of the replay. But he talked about the penalty count, and they won the penalty count.
Did you say it went against him?
And I think, and I think he was probably thinking about one or two weird decisions, or what he thought were weird decisions, but he'd inflated that in his own mind to be the penalties went against us, because maybe one or two penalties were a little bit harshly given against them. And I think it's reinforced in my head this idea that I think coaches shouldn't be allowed to talk about the referee performance in the immediate aftermath of a game, and what they should be forced to do is go through their whole full review of the match and then do a press conference 48 hours after the game where they can talk as much as they want about the refereeing performance. If the questions leave them that way, because at that point they've had a chance to actually realise if they're going to talk out the fucking arses or not.
But that doesn't make good TV, Mark, does it?
No, unfortunately not.
There you go. Okay.
But do you know what makes good TV? Great rugby league with dramatic finishes to a match like this one.
Well, we did have a dramatic finish, didn't we? A wonderful, wonderful little nugget of niceness to see Gaz Ellis go over and get his try to give Hull FC the lead. Last appearance at the KC in his professional career. So, good on him. We've talked about it already in the show. What a tremendous career Gaz Ellis has had, and it was fitting that he'd be able to score. Mark Sneed polished it off with that drop goal, didn't he? Which took them 2 scores clear, which meant that the final try was Mason Caton Brown's was more of a consolation, wasn't it?
Well, it gave them an opportunity to tie the game up for Wakefield, but they couldn't take it. It was very close. Phil Bentham didn't want to take any chances and referred it upstairs, but it was very close, but not quite close enough. And then there was a good bit of bounce on the next day, or a couple of days later, on Twitter between Michael Carter and Liam Finn about drop goal practice.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
there you go.
Everyone enjoyed it.
Happy bounce. Right. What did the stats tell us on this one then?
Both team stats would have won them most games. Actually, they both went over 1,400 metres with at least 8 metres per carry and 94% team tackle success. And it was only 5-4 in penalties, so both teams pretty well disciplined, or referee pretty well letting the game flow. The only numbers with the real differences was breaks and errors. Wakefield had 7 breaks to Hull's 3, but they also had 12 errors to Hull's 9, kind of emphasising the point that they didn't execute well enough when they had the chance, unfortunately.
There you go. Individually, who stood out for us then for the Hull side.
Well, Captain Granite.